Hello, I'm Citrus, and thanks to a very generous supporter of the channel, you're looking at the real grade Hi-Nu Gundam. This came from Pasta Pappy Be Saucy on Instagram, so give him a follow if you like. As some of you may know, this came out in September 2021 and quickly sold out in many places upon release. The prices in Japan right now are roughly double retail. The box doesn't tell you this, but retail price is 4,500 yen. So right now you're pretty lucky to be able to find one for maybe 8,000, 9,000 yen in Japan. Hopefully the overseas supply is a little better, but in any case, it's a very, very, very generous donation because I kind of missed the pre-orders on this and I had no idea where I was going to be able to find one, especially because the local ones tend to disappear within seconds of landing. So really, really appreciate Pasta Pappy Be Saucy for sending this to me. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the high-grade Hi-Nu to compare to this, but I do have the most recently released 1/144 scale Hi-Nu thing that Bandai has made, which is the Batorchika's Children version of the Metal Robot Spirits. So throughout the rest of this, we will be comparing the real grade to this, because funnily enough, the prices secondhand right now of this figure are pretty close to the Japanese prices of the real grade. So a pretty typical real grade manual here with some color photos of details and the color highlighted instructions, which are hopefully pretty clear. And here's our colored decal layout. Tons of stickers as usual. Start off with the B plate, which used to be the star of the show for any real grade, but now we only have these little frames for the 6 funnels in the kit. The A plate is very sharp. Lots of very fine details, as you can see. The copper is a pretty nice color. It would have been nice if it was coated, but even as it is, I think it will look really good. And you get 2 C plates. This one has the bazooka barrel on it, the other one does not. It's been a long time since real grades were ever 2,500 yen, but I have to say I'm really astounded by the amount of plastic in the box. There are master grades that cost as much as this does, and they struggle to fill the space. So far it looks like all of the seam lines will be extremely well managed. Everything should look pretty amazing with minimal work. And the funnels here, nothing too special, looks like. Usual amount of detail. The blue plate bringing back like the multi-cast blue on the shield, kind of like the high grade used to do. More funnel parts and the big shells for the wing binders. More of the same, except this is like the chest pieces and the arm thing. I think this is the side that holds the oh no, it's both sides. I think this is probably the shooty side and this is the beam saber side. And we have 2 plates of silver. Lots of nice frame detail on the inside of the skirts here. This isn't plated, again it's just silver plastic, but I think still looks pretty good. And mostly the same on the other one here, except you have the bazooka parts down here. Some of the swirl marks are a little obvious on the big parts, but the other pieces are small enough that I don't think you'd really be able to notice. And now we get into the real meat of the frame with these massive gray plates that take up the entire length of the box. Some delicious sculpted detail on these parts. Really glad to see this return to like the old school master grade style of sculpting. It's definitely a far cry from like the RG RX-78, which barely had any frame detail at all, but here you can see it's just everywhere. And we have one more here with the chest parts. Very nice. Shield. Very nicely sculpted manipulators, a lot of dimension to them. I remember the old real grades used to have like these very flat looking closed fists. And unfortunately those are now a thing of the past. Alright, let's get this built. Here's the completed Hi-Nu next to a typically sized 1/144 scale kit, the high-grade RX-78 Revive, and also another 1/144 scale-ish Hi-Nu, the Metal Robot Spirits. Right away, you'll have noticed the real grade Hi-Nu is quite large, and to a lot of people this was rightly somewhat upsetting. So if we look at the manual, it actually makes no mentions of the Hi-Nu specs at all, but if we look at the MS Illustrated Guide, we can see the Hi-Nu is supposed to be 20 meters in height. If we do a little bit of math at 1/144 scale, that's supposed to be about 14 centimeters, but you can see that the actual model kit is actually about 15. This probably won't make scale purists very happy, but I think it's not a huge problem because the Hi-Nu is one of those kits that every single time it's been introduced to a new product line, its appearance changes wildly. So if we can think about the height of the mobile suit as part of its design or appearance, then the fact that this Hi-Nu is a little bit larger than maybe it's supposed to be isn't really that off trend for Hi-Nu products that we've had in the past. Originally, I was planning on comparing the real grade Hi-Nu to its Metal Robot Spirits counterpart, but I don't think this is a very meaningful comparison anymore. The two products have completely different sizes, colors, designs, levels of detail, levels of involvement that make them such distinct products that you're either in one camp, either the model kit camp or the action figure camp already, and then, your choice is already made for you, or you like the Hi-Nu so much that none of these differences would matter to you really anyway, and you'd probably already have both of them. So if you're interested in details about the Metal Robot Spirits Hi-Nu, I have my separate video that you can click on up here in the corner. For the rest of the video, we'll just be focusing on the real grade. And to make things a little bit easier for now, I'm going to remove the backpack, even though this is actually one of my favorite parts of the kit, and we'll get to it in a minute. The mechanical design of the real grade is kind of an amalgam of all the different Hi-Nus we've seen through time. We have the large calf intakes from like the Verka, but the color scheme and overall proportions that are more similar to the 2007 Master Grade. I really like the more balanced proportions between the top and the bottom halves of the mobile suit, and makes it look much less bottom heavy compared to the Verka design. Without the backpack on, the shoulders do seem a bit large, but with everything in place, it kind of balances out. Since this is kind of a post-Unicorn era kit, there are I don't know what you call them, like armor expansion gimmicks. You have these kinds of opening thrusters on the back skirt here, if I can open them. There we go. Not much to really see, but on the back, if we move the leg out of the way, you can see that there's a multi-layer design, and hopefully saw in the build that there's quite a lot of detail in all the different parts of this kit. On the legs, you can open up some panels on the calves. On the shoulders, this slides out a little bit, and so on. It doesn't really do that much for the kit if you ask me, but I guess it's better than not having the gimmick, I suppose. What's really, really appealing to me, anyway, is just the level of mechanical detail that's here. You can see when I bend the leg here, there are so many sections that move. The interesting thing is that you can actually, when you put the leg together, you can build just half of it, and you can see exactly how all of the linkages work inside of the joints, and that is a really cool touch. Articulation wise, you can see the legs are really great. The ankles are also really good with a big sturdy swivel joint in there. Pretty good footing in most poses that you will want to put this into. I've obviously had this built now for about 2 years, and it's actually still holding poses really quite well. The body does have a little bit of problem balancing with the backpack just because it's so heavy, but the waist joint is still quite strong, and it does the accordion thing, so you can do really wild stuff like that. But the idea is just so that you can extend it a little bit so you can get really good motion without sacrificing the appearance too much. I mean, obviously, when you lean it over like this, it looks good from certain angles and not so good from other angles. So you just have to be a little clever about that. Shoulder joints have a similar thing going on where you can kind of pop them out all the way like this. And then the shoulders have a ton of range forwards and back, up and down. And you flip it up. The sort of mid elbow swivel comes back. A lot of older kits used to have this type of joint design. It disappeared for a while and now it's finally coming back because I guess Bandai figured out that, you know, having this extra joint in the middle of the arm lets you do some subtle things. And more importantly, it lets you pose the arm with like different parts of the arm facing forward. So for example, if you wanted to show off like the middle of the joint, but also the side, like the how would you call it, like the detail on the side of the arm, you can do this where the top half of the joint is bent like this and the bottom of the joint is bent like this, right? Whereas on a lot of older kits, you basically have to be kind of stuck doing this or this. And when you do like this kind of pose, the arms would only be able to bend inwards, which looks kind of awkward, especially when you have like shields and stuff hanging off the arm. It doesn't really help with like the balance of things, especially if the arm like droops over time and then it kind of just starts curling the arm inwards, which doesn't look great. On the forearm here, you have a container that has a beam saber in it. Oh, there you go. And it's not really advertising instructions, but you can kind of turn the beam saber around on the square peg in there. And when you do that, the panel doesn't close all the way, but this exposes the tip of the beam saber so that you can put a beam saber effect in there, which is kind of neat. On the other side, have this little gun here, and the wrist is linked to it so that when you pull the wrist down, the barrel extends. And neck, just a swivel joint at the bottom and a ball joint on top. The waist armor has an interesting connection. You can slide out the side and front skirt all the way kind of like that, which basically exposes the entire leg so you can get some pretty high kicks. It looks a little bit weird because the skirt would normally be, I guess, like up like that. But, you know, you can't really argue with results. And you can further extend the range by releasing this lock here. And then if we just pull the leg down a little bit, you can see now it's the hip joint has been lowered. So we put the lock back, then the leg can go even further, which is like almost completely straight up. Very interesting. So again, only works for some angles because like if you see it from this side, it looks a little bit weird with all of the stuff that's just kind of like shoved out of the way. But like you can get this into some very, very, very steep poses with the legs, and it's pretty cool. All right, and the backpack. Like I said, this is my favorite part of this kit because it has some really nice bits of articulation in it. So first of all, you can see the shape of this middle piece is currently in like the, I guess like the bird shape, which is like the binder on the Verkat. But if you do this, now it's in kind of like the slender long shape that came on the 2007 Master Grade, which is interesting. So it kind of like pays homage to the sources of this design's inspiration. And then the rest is basically just these binders. There is a compartment in here that stores the beam sabers. I'm gonna try to open it for you very carefully. You can just pop up the front, and that's the easy part. And then you have to kind of pull it forward and up at the same time. And then you can lift it up like that. And the beam saber is attached to the shell, so it's kind of like delivered for you as opposed to like being buried still inside somewhere. And the binders can go forwards and back, up and down, and rotate. So the cool thing you can do with this is the individual funnel holders also can spread. The last one has a linkage up here. So as you move it all the way out, you can see that kicks the little thruster up. And the really neat thing is if you spread all of the binders apart as far as they'll go, and you move the binder up, you can achieve like a Gundam Double X kind of pose with the fin funnels, which is a really, really neat effect, which I don't think any other version of the Hi-News binders are capable of doing. So definitely a huge thumbs up for that design. Just a normal clip, ball joint for the fuel tanks here. And in the very back, there is a little thing you can flip down and you can clip the bazooka onto the back. The back of the bazooka has that little bar there, and that just goes right into the clip like so. The bazooka itself looks really nice. The entire barrel is cast in one piece, so there's no seam line. And you can do the usual extension gimmick like that. So for just a little bit of extra pop, I picked out a couple of details here and there. I think it looks really great. Similar story with the beam rifle. The white and gray really work here, but picking out a couple of little details with some marker will really help it look nice. And then we have the shield, which takes a departure from the Verkaz like white shield with basically decal markings if you want them, back to the molded chunky blue and white striping, which looks really cool. No gimmicks on it really. I really like that the connector is just a simple peg, very low profile, very clean look on the MS. And lastly, you get a set of 4 hands in addition to the closed fists and the gun hand, as well as a action-based adapter that sandwiches itself firmly between the MS's chest and the backpack, which just goes right on top of it. Very sturdy connection. And that's basically it for the kit's normal accessories, but if you want to go one step further, you can get the Hyper Mega Bazooka launcher. I'm not a huge fan of the one Bandai made, which is just a squarish block with a tube on it. So I bought this one from Effect Wings. And what this does is kind of emulate the look of the Hyper Mega Bazooka launcher you can get with the Metal Robot Spirits. One thing to note is that Effect Wings made this kit in 2 colors. One is dark blue, which is like the canonical color from the video game, and another one in the light blue to match the Hi-News, which is the one I'll be building. Both kits come with slightly different bonuses. The dark blue version comes with a set of faceplates for the real grade New Gundam, along with pink funnel effect parts, and the light blue version comes with just a set of orange effect parts. Speeding through the plates real quick here, you can see the casting quality is pretty good, actually not much shrinkage or anything like that. Most of the parts you can see are also undergated. Included are also a set of water slide decals, which are mostly based on the same design as the clear stickers that came with this real grade Hi-News, so you'll be able to use some of them on the mobile suit itself, or do what I do and just use them to decorate the Hyper Mega launcher. And for display purposes, the kit also comes with a soft rubber hose and a assembly required Tamashii Stage 4. Be very careful how you store the pieces when you're not displaying the kit. The hose was laying on just this part of the barrel, and you can see it left quite a nasty mark that ruined the top coat. I'm kind of afraid to fix this because I don't want to destroy the decal there. And the finished rifle looks really nice. It actually has some details that aren't present on the Metal Robot Spirits version here. You can see on the side, the inside, and the outside. I think it was just to match the scale of the real grade, but you can see the Effect Wings one is very slightly longer. And as for the decal layout, you can see that I kind of just copied the Metal Robot Spirits version. And there's still plenty of spare for you to put on the MS if you like. Personally, since I was able to add paint applications to the model kit version, I am much more satisfied with it. I also prefer the soft rubber hose to the wire, even though it did ruin the barrel a little bit during storage, because when you have it on display, it falls in like a more natural fashion. It doesn't have any weird kinks in it that you kind of have to constantly worry about smoothing out as you're putting it on display. Speaking of display, the kit doesn't include any way for you to show the funnels deploying or flying around the mobile suit. Bandai's solution for you is to go buy the separately available Figurize Jet Effect. And to match the Hi-News funnels, you're supposed to buy them in blue. The set was also available in yellow for the new and the Sazabi, Nightingale, etc. The problem is, in the 2 years since this kit came out, and my recording this video now, I haven't been able to find Figurize Jet Effects in stock basically anywhere. And yes, there were a couple of listings available for eBay over time for ridiculous amounts of money, but I wasn't quite ready to do that. So if you happen to buy the Real Grade New Gundam limited edition funnel effects set thing, you do have a way of displaying your funnels. But if you didn't, and you couldn't find a set of Figurize Jet Effects anywhere, like me, then you're kind of out of luck. And with that, I think that's basically the only gripe I have about this kit. It was surprisingly easy to build, despite how many tiny pieces it had to fill in all of the mechanical detail inside of the frame. The price is a little bit on the higher end for a 1/144 scale kit, but I think you do get a lot for your money here. And now that it's been a while since it came out, and supply, at least of these kits, has kind of steadied out, you can, find these for pretty good prices online. Sometimes in a sale, you can even find them for like, high 40s, low 50s, and at that point, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Unless you really, really can't accept the fact that the finished kit is sized a little bit too big, or you're just not into like 1/144 scale-ish kits in general, I don't really think there's any reason to not pick this up. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.